we doing, everybody? And welcome back to another episode of Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I am your host, Trage. We had a weekend full of 24-10 scores. That's all I know. Badgers 24-10 loss, and the Packers 24-10 loss. We're going to be recapping both of them, talking about the Bucs last night against the Hawks. We're going to get into that a little bit, and then we'll see where the day takes us. Today, I have Austin with me. Jordan, how are we doing today, Austin?
Fantastic. Kind of. A little bit. Yesterday was disappointing, so we're getting it's a Monday. It's a Monday, we're getting through it, but overall, not too shabby.
It is an overstretched Monday, and we are going to be flying off the rails a little bit here today on some topics. Rolling right away into the Bucs. I'm going to take a quote that I got from Austin during this game, and that is we should trade away Damian Lillard now after this performance against the Hawks. I don't know. He messaged me and said, Dame ain't it. He's not it. Looking at this one, Damian Lillard did struggle. 2 for 12 from the floor, 2 for 8 from downtown, 6 points on the ball game. Jay Crowder got the start, 2 points. Giannis went for 26. Lopez went for 13. Beasley put in 18. Off the bench, Connaughton once again struggled shooting. He went 2 for 9 from the floor, 1 for 6 from downtown, 5 points on the ball game there. Do you think, and this is just me talking, but do you think with Connaughton's struggle, his job is kind of on the line here? I expect to see maybe Jackson Jr. get in there at some point. You got Cameron Payne. You have other guys like Bieshkamp who could get some time in there. Green could see some minutes. Is Connaughton's job on the line here?
Yeah, Connaughton's kind of the guy that's known to come off the bench and be more of like a 3-point threat for us, a hustle player, but come off the bench and score some points. And 5 points with 23 minutes, that's doesn't look too good on his part right there. And especially we got Cameron Payne and Beauchamp. They both are Cameron Payne's been in the league for a little bit, and Beauchamp's new. So maybe giving them more chances than Connaughton. If Connaughton isn't producing, they might be the way to go. And even Jackson, he's a younger guy. He got some minutes, didn't score, but he definitely has size there. And then AJ Green scored 7 points off the bench, I see. So I know he played quite a bit last year. And so, Pat Connaughton, I love the guy. He's kind of cool. He's always been with the Bucs. But I mean, 5 points, especially when Damian Lillard and Jay Crowder are producing, you kind of need that off the bench, that scoring off the bench to come in and do something. But he just didn't yesterday against the Hawks.
And you could tell not having Middleton in there, that would have been another option, especially with Damian Lillard having a cold night from the field. Middleton could have kind of filled that gap in there with Giannis, not having Middleton. And look, everything seems to be fine. All I saw of it was from the news report that it was more of a load management, just had surgery, trying to keep him healthy kind of ordeal. So hopefully as the season moves on, we can avoid that kind of stuff. But looking at this one, I mean, the Bucs trailed throughout. It wasn't like the Bucs, they right away in it, and then the Hawks just went off on them. You look at the Hawks in this one. Trae Young went for 20 in this one. Murray had 15. Looking at their starters, everybody scored in double figures for the Hawks there. They had 3 guys off the bench scoring in double figures in this one. Bogdan, he went for 17 in this one in 26 minutes. I mean, the Hawks, they proved they're a pretty lethal team when everybody's right on that team. Jalen Johnson had a good game for them. I know we talked about him. I hate him because he went to Duke, but Jalen Johnson had a great game. Capella played well for him. It was an all-around good performance from the Hawks in that ball game against the Bucs there.
Yeah, shout out to them because, I mean, especially with the defense that are going against Giannis and some of the defenders there, they probably needed to get the ball to other guys to score, and that's what they did. They did just that, and they were able to get a lot of guys in double figures, which helped them. I mean, I'm guessing they like to rely on Trae Young to do most of the carrying, but when he doesn't have to, like the Bucs try to use Giannis to do a lot of the carrying, and sometimes, like tonight, it just didn't work. But Trae Young, he got 20 points, but he had a lot of help around there, and that seemed to kind of carry them to the victory.
Definitely a good game by the Hawks there. 127 to, what the heck did I just say? took it off there. 127 to 110 was the final there. The Bucks take the loss. They are back in action tonight. They're going to have the Miami Heat at home for a 7 o'clock tip there from the Pfizer. So that should be a pretty good game. The Heat have struggled a little bit to start this season here. Bam Adebayo still playing like he does, averaging 22 a game right now. Kevin Love has been playing a lot for the Heat so far to start this season. And then Kyle Lowry is getting a lot of minutes down there. But it looks like Love, Richardson, and Caleb Martin are all going to be game time decisions for the Miami Heat. And I'm just seeing this now. Chris Middleton's status is out for the game against Miami Heat. He was out yesterday's game, but he's expected back from Monday's match against the Heat. So Middleton will be back against the Miami Heat. What do you think with this one going up against the Heat here? They've struggled a little bit to start the year, but still a lethal team. What do you think with them coming to town?
Yeah, still Miami Heat. I mean, they're always a playoff team. Always seems like they're playing against the Bucks in the playoffs. So two teams that are very familiar with each other. He have also Tyler Hero, who's coming back to Milwaukee where he's from. So it'll be interesting to see how he always plays when he plays back in Milwaukee. I'm sure he'll probably go off for 30 points because he's back home. But overall, I think it'll be a good matchup. And, two teams that are coming off of a loss. One will hopefully it'll be interesting to see how they do, to say the least.
Definitely.
Hopefully the Bucks get the win. I'd say. Hopefully the Bucks get the win.
Yeah, definitely need to control Tyler Hero in this one. He's averaging 22 on this young season, and then Bam Adebayo is averaging 22. Jimmy Butler sitting at a modest 16 points a game right now. Not bad for Jimmy Butler standards. Didn't know what Jimmy Butler was going to show up this year when he went through that diva phase to start the year. Weren't really sure what we were getting. It seems like Jimmy Buckets is in the right headspace right now.
I think he's here to stay. I think Jimmy Buckets is here to stay for a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we got the right guy now. So that will be tonight at 7 o'clock. But with that, we're going to jump over into the Badgers. Badgers, Ohio State. We all thought it was going to be worse than what it was. We talked about it last week. We were sitting here thinking to ourselves, well, this is going to be a blowout. I'm hoping that it's still a game at the end of the first half, maybe the end of the first quarter. And the Badgers, the defense. I can't even say the offense played great in this one. The offense struggled. At the end of the first half there, they on the 1 yard line, you had 4 chances to punch it in. You failed. You failed to punch it in. Now, play calling on the first one wasn't an issue. Should have had a touchdown on that first one. Bad throw by Braden Locke. Rushed the throw out to Skylar Bell. Bell had to go down to a knee to catch it. Couldn't get it in. Okay. That sucked. But then you had 2 more shots after that with Braylon Allen running right up the middle. Couldn't punch it in. That was the backbreaker for the Badgers right there to end that first half. You could have went into the half in a relatively close ball game with the number 3 team in the country, and instead you were down 10-0 on the goal line. You had to settle for a field goal. Now it's 10-3 going into that second half. You had the ball to start the second half. Momentum's on your side. You put in the end zone there, 10-7. Now you come out of the half with that momentum back. You have that Will Pauling 13-yard pass there. They scored a touchdown right away to start that second half, 10-10 tie. Now it's 14-10. Now Ohio State is pressured. Now they have to make something happen. The defense played great. My question with the defense in this one was with Hallman. Hallman played a great game for the Badgers. And when he was manned up with Marvin Harrison, Hallman played great against him. But they kept moving Marvin Harrison away from Hallman. And the Badgers didn't move Hallman with them. I looked at the corners for Wisconsin and I said, it's an old saying, it's an old way to do it, but trail him. Have Hallman, that's his guy. He stays on Harrison the entire time. Don't have him keep switching because they're going to avoid Hallman all game long. Is that what you kind of noticed in this one? Was Hallman played great when he was on Harrison. Harrison goes away from Hallman. Now they can utilize him with some of these deep passes that Harrison's been great at catching all season long.
Yeah, and I know with a lot of teams, they'll have a boundary corner and a field corner, and maybe that's what the Badgers are doing. So they didn't want to have them trail them. But I know some teams they do have them match up with that specific wide receiver if they are so dynamic, which Marvin Harrison Jr. is. And just looking at the yards, I mean, Marvin Harrison over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Um, Clearly, the Ohio State Buckeyes knew what they were doing when it came to that. And yeah, I mean, honestly, I probably would have kept him trailing on Marvin Harrison since he was doing such a good job on him, but the Badgers didn't make that adjustment, it seems. And like you said before, or like what we said on Friday, this game was going to come down to momentum and turnovers, and the Badgers, I feel like, did a good job on defense getting the turnovers, but the Badgers also did not capitalize on those turnovers, which it seemed, and I feel like that's the kicker for them, and that's one of the bigger reasons why they lost that game.
Well, and I looked at it too. I saw a lot of people commenting on Facebook and Instagram and everything. They said, "Oh well, Paul Chryst would have never been in this game. Paul Chryst would have never been in this game." Wisconsin's offense didn't really play great in this ball game. They did not play great as a whole. The defense played great, but it's always been against Ohio State. Wisconsin's defense plays great for about 2 quarters. But you look at the time of possession in this one, 35 minutes for Ohio State, 35-50 for Ohio State. Wisconsin had it for 24 minutes and 10 seconds, okay? So you look at that difference there. Wisconsin's defense is constantly on the field. How many 3-and-outs did we watch to start that ball game? We saw Wisconsin's defense too much. I thought they played great. I loved watching them out there because they gave the atmosphere was rocking when they were out there. They had a lot of huge stops. But you don't want to see your defense that much out there because Ohio State, you saw it towards the end there, then they knew what Wisconsin was going to do on defense. They knew the schemes, they knew the packages, they knew everything that Wisconsin was going to throw at them because they opened up the playbook in this one. And looking at time of possession has killed Wisconsin all season long because they can't sustain drives, and especially against a team like Ohio State, you have to at least sustain a drive. I don't mean you have to score on every drive, but at least, crack off first down. Crack off maybe a couple first downs on a drive. Get it past the 50. Okay, now I got to punt. Okay, that's fine. You pin them back deep in their own territory. Look how many times the Badgers punted from the 10-yard line, their own 10, and had to kick it. And then, well, Wisconsin's punter isn't the greatest in the world. Out to the 45 of Ohio State, and now they got great field position to come back at Wisconsin's defense. That's where I'm really looking in this one was the time of possession was a killer for Wisconsin.
Yeah, I see it right now. And also looking back, we get the or we get them stopped. We stop the Buckeyes first play or first drive of the game. We stop them, and then when we get the ball, fumble Braylon Allen. Now they have the ball right back, go right down, score a touchdown. Momentum killer right there. I'm also taking a look. They had 23. Ohio State had 23 first downs. We had 14 first downs. We were 0 for 2 on fourth down. Our third down efficiency was 6 for 16, 6 punts. Overall, that's just not going to cut it. And I mean, especially when you're playing such a high caliber team like Ohio State, you're going to want to maintain the ball as long as you can. And 14 first downs, I mean, you can get that within a first half if you maintain the ball. I mean, but in a game, that's tough to win that game. And having under 100 rushing yards, that's kind of tough for them too there, especially for Wisconsin being such a run heavy offense the past few years. But now obviously we're more of an air raid. And so far, I mean, you see it's not really helping us, but
no, completely agree with you there. And you look at this one and it looked like Braden Locke impressed me after the first quarter, towards the end of the first half, and then in the second half. Right away, I thought he was kind of shaky. I thought it looked like he was nervous. And nothing against it because this is your second start of your college career. You're going up against number 3 Ohio State. Constantly you are getting pressure on you because your offensive line is struggling. And the receivers for Wisconsin don't help him. They do not help him out at all because these receivers, I mean, I wish I would. I'm going to sit there in the next game and just count how many drop passes there are. Just balls that should be caught are being just straight through the hands. Straight through the hands here, straight through the hands there, off the shoulder pad. All these balls, I mean, you look at his stat line in this one, 18 for 39 for 165 yards. Doesn't look that great, but I honestly say if the balls that should have been caught were caught in this one, Brandon Locke's sitting at about 22 for 39. Not that much better, but a lot of those are on key third downs, key first downs that would have put you in a better position come second down. That's where I think Wisconsin is failing right now, is the focus of this team. The team is, I mean, they don't have that laser focus that you really want when they go out there. And I think that comes back to coaching. You know, you look at this, drop passes, pre-snap penalties, all the stuff like that. That's having guys not ready to go. These guys aren't ready to completely go when the game starts. And that comes back to coaching for me in this one.
It's all about doing the little things, honestly. You know, what you're doing in practice, pregame, all that little thing. And yeah, I mean, there's these new wide receivers that we brought in this year, and we thought they were going to be like doing a bunch of spectacular things, like CJ Williams, always a 5-star out of modern day, coming from USC. Well, when you only have one reception for 7 yards against one of the best teams in the nation, it's kind of tough to say you're going to be all that. Will Pauling, I say he's done pretty good, 4 receptions for 51 yards and a touchdown, but like the drops are what killing us when we need them, and they're crucial too. And it's not like they're bad balls by Brandon Locke either. I mean, for the most part, they're put on the wide receivers a catchable position too, and it's like it's frustrating.
I don't know.
It's frustrating to watch.
I don't know if he throws it like Brett Favre, where he's throwing 100 miles per hour, because it's straight through their hands. It's like they're so used to catching like a little flip pass that they've never seen this laser arm that's coming out. I mean, Brandon Locke, he zips her in there. He doesn't waste time. He's going to throw it on a dime. But I don't know if that's what's catching these receivers or what, but they need to sit at practice with their hands right next to the jugs machine and just catch balls straight out of there then, because I get it. It's cold. It was cold at Camp Randall for that game. That does affect, but some of these balls, I mean, you look at Ohio State, didn't have an issue with it. Flip side, Wisconsin, some big plays were missed because of drop passes there. And that was a killer for this Badger team. Also, Braylon Allen getting injured right before the half. He did struggle to start this game, but losing a guy like Braylon Allen in the backfield, that's a killer. Because I thought when Jackson Aker came into this one, he was too hesitant. He didn't hit the hole hard. Braylon Allen comes through there like a bull in a china shop, whereas Jackson Aker, he's a big guy. He's just like Braylon Allen. He's a big guy, but he tries to find the hole first, not try to barrel through there like Braylon Allen would. He hesitates for too long, and this Ohio State defense is too fast for hesitation. You have to be pinpoint right away. Other teams have figured that out. Wisconsin just figured that out in this one. So Allen, definitely, that was an injury that killed Wisconsin. Also, Chimere Dike. I didn't know Chimere Dike was injured until coming out of the half. I can't remember who returned kicks for him after the half there, but DK wasn't back there. I was like, what the heck? Then all of a sudden they report Chimere Dike's out for the game now too. I was like, okay, well now we're missing Dike, who wasn't really utilized in the pass game to start this one, but he's a dynamic kick returner and punt returner for this team. We saw it. The guy, I can't remember who the heck replaced him, but he was hesitant receiving kicks. He was hesitant receiving punts. DK set up the Badgers there at the end of the first half with a heck of a punt return that set him up for a good drive there. And that was the same kind of scenario as we saw fair catches being called by, I can't even remember who filled them in. Otherwise, I'd give him a name here. But those were two huge injuries that affected the Badgers in this one.
Yeah, missing DK on special teams is huge, but overall, I think the Braylon Allen one, that one's gonna hurt us, especially not having especially having Ches Malusi already out for the year. And yeah, let me see Jackson Aker. Yeah, it seemed like sometimes he would have a decent run. He'd hit the hole, he'd find it, and then he'd get like 4 yards, 5 yards, which isn't bad. I'd take 5 yards, 4 yards a pop. But then there's other times where he's hesitant, like you said, and it's like, what is he doing out there? Like, is there nothing? And our third leading rusher in the game was Braden Locke, your quarterback, who had 14 yards. Now I don't know. Now I don't know about that much, but if your quarterback's your third leading rusher with 14 yards, that's not good. Braden Allen
trying to play football.
Yeah. Braylon Allen was our leading rusher, 50 yards, and he got hurt at halftime. So overall, like our rushing offense was just not there. And obviously, Braylon Allen not being out is what stung us in the heart right there for that. And our O line wasn't honestly probably wasn't playing the greatest either. So I mean, with everything combined, it just didn't look good. It didn't look up to the Badger standards in the run game. I'd just say that.
No, it was definitely a struggle all around. And there was 2 points in this game where I was like, I hate people that blame the refs right away. I hate people that blame the refs, and I hate that people still do. But there was 2 points in this one where I said, "What the heck?" That missed. There was a back. It looked like it could have been a backwards pass by McCord, and they didn't review it. They called it as a incomplete. He was throwing forwards. Didn't even think about reviewing it. They actually went back and had a conversation, and they determined it was intentional grounding. But they didn't
Yeah,
look at this play. I think that could have been a huge turning point for the Badgers in this one. Yes, did they get? I think they got turnover on. Or no, they got the punt then. But still, that moment right there, that was a fumble. They had it going the other way then. Could have been a huge change in this ball game. Also, I thought, Bryson Green had a play on the edge there. It was in the third there, and I thought it was a missed pass interference call. There was a couple times in this ball game where Ohio State got away with a little bit, and I was like, okay, we need to look at this a little bit closer here. But Wisconsin's defense definitely played well in this one. On the opposite side, forced a lot of penalties against Ohio State in this one. A couple intentional groundings, and it was actually an impressive showing by this defense. I didn't expect it out of the defense in this one.
yeah, for sure. I mean, Marvin Harrison, he's going to get his yards. I mean, he's gotten over 100 yards in the past 4 games, a touchdown, at least one touchdown in the past how many games. So obviously, he's going to get his numbers. But keeping Ohio State's offense to 24 points, I mean, Penn State kept them to 20 points. So, I mean, if you compare the two, Penn State's ranked number 7, or I don't know what they are now, but they were when they played them. I mean, when you compare the two, they held their own, but our offense, it's the offense that killed us overall. I'm proud of our defense for sure. But, I mean, to hold them to 24 points, the offense is going to have to find a way to put more points in put the ball in the end zone. But, yeah, we got the turnovers that we asked for. We got them for the most part.
It was definitely a game to build off. It was definitely a loss that you can find good points in it and build off of it if you are the Badgers. I still am not a fan. I thought in this one, the defense played a little too cushioned. The corners played a little bit too cushioned against this Ohio State receiving core. Marvin Harrison, I get it. He's speedy. He's shifty. He's going to break some away. But at the same time, you give him 5 yards, you give him 6 yards before you're even there. That slant route, anything like that, that becomes more effective against your defense. And we saw it there on a late touchdown by Harrison. He came across the middle of the field on a slant route and was wide open there. Can't remember who was in coverage there, but he got caught up in traffic and completely lost Harrison. I think the cushion defense for Wisconsin, if you're that worried you're going to get torched, we need to find some faster guys out there to play corner, because right now you're giving 5 yards, you're giving 10 yards. It's not going to be effective defense, especially playing a team like Ohio State when they can crack off 5-10 yards at a time. They're fine. They're going to make that work. So in this one, Badgers, definitely a lot to build off of moving forward here. They will have, I can't even remember who they play next year. Indiana. That should be an interesting matchup. Indiana played a pretty good game. Who did they just come on? I thought they played Penn State, didn't they?
Penn State pretty competitively, 33-24. Penn State got the win, but it's pretty competitive.
So a good game there by Indiana. So Wisconsin will have their hands full. We're going to get into that a little bit more this week. But right now, we got to jump over into our favorite thing to talk about right now in the entire world, and that is the Green Bay Packers. Because, well, let's just say we talked about the Packers and what they had to do, and we were hoping for if it was going to be a loss, it would be a good loss. It wouldn't be this terrible game. It would be a good loss, and we can move forward. It was a terrible loss again. It was like we were playing the Denver Broncos all over again. So my question is, Matt LaFleur came out after every loss so far, and he's told us the same exact thing. We got stuff that we need to fix, and we're going to fix it. Okay? We heard that 3 losses ago. We heard it after the Broncos game. We're going to hear it after this one. So, what are we fixing if we're Matt LaFleur right now? Because I'm not seeing it. I haven't seen it yet. No Packer fan out there has seen it yet. We still are inconsistent. We're making mistakes left and right. You look at 8 penalties in the first half. 8 penalties in the first half of this one. That's the most since 2012 when they played the San Francisco 49ers. That's ridiculous. 8 penalties alone in the first half. Time of possession in this one, 36 minutes for the Vikings, 23 for the Packers. That's just ridiculous. I mean, you look at penalty first downs in this one, 4 for the Vikings, 1 for the Packers. Just terrible all-around play. Look at the difference in penalties in this one. Penalties for the Packers, 11-7 for the Vikings. You cleaned it up in the second half. 3 in the second half. Not so bad. But you look at penalty yards, 99 against the Packers in this one. 99 penalty yards against the Packers. That is terrible all around. That to me, and I talked about with Badgers, same thing here. That comes down to coaching. That comes down to not having your guys focused when they walk in the building. You are not on the same level with these guys. And if you cannot control your team, get them to hold their water, get them to focus in before the game even starts, we need to find somebody else to be the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. That's plain and simple. We have not, we expected in this season with Jordan Love and the really young offense, we expected hiccups. We expected it was going to be at times ugly, but we expected to see improvement as the season went on. The best game we played all year was against the Chicago Bears week 1. After that, downhill. We have not scored a touchdown in the first half since week 2. I think it was in week 2 when they scored a touchdown against the Falcons. They have not scored a touchdown in the first half since then. They're lucky that they kicked a field goal here to end the first half here. They should have had a touchdown to end the first half. Couldn't punch it in. So, after watching that game, how are you feeling?
Yeah. Like you said about Matt LaFleur always saying, always going to fix this. It's kind of it's that type of thing where you're fixing something and then you end up breaking it even more. Honestly, that's what it seemed like. I mean, I'm watching the game. I'm like, all right, 10-24, fourth quarter coming up. This is usually when they get their things rolling, about the fourth quarter. I start watching, no improvement. I'm like, yeah, I'm turning this off. Because, if we ain't even going to get in the red zone or anything, what's the point of me watching? I'm a pretty diehard Packer fan, but that was just like, oh my gosh. And then 1 for 4 on fourth downs, one of them being in the red zone or on the goal line. I'm like, you got to figure out some way to get them points. Either way, 99 yards of total penalties. You kidding me? How many of those are, what's it called? Personal foul penalties. I think we had like 3 of them or something.
3 at least, yeah.
And I'm like, roughing the quarterback. Why are you even hitting him? All right, the ball is gone. Captain Kirk ain't that good. You don't gotta hit him. I mean, Captain Kirk ended up getting hurt in the. He tore his Achilles or something.
Yeah, tore his Achilles. He's gonna be. If that second opinion proves it, he looks like the Vikings could be in some trouble.
Vikings could look, yeah, but I mean, then again, the Vikings backup. Yeah, we'll give him Jordan Love. Because, heck, their backup quarterback did better than Jordan Love, and he was only in for, 2 drives or something like that? I don't even know.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I mean, it sucks, but cause it sucks to say because Matt LaFleur has been really good the past few years with Aaron Rodgers, but Jordan Love.
That's the big thing right there. As you look at who was playing quarterback for the Packers when he first arrived, and who he had at wide receiver, Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers. They saved Matt LaFleur on at least 10 to 15 plays a game, just because those two could do it. Aaron Rodgers covered holes in the Matt LaFleur offense that we didn't see until he was gone. And now it's up to Jordan Love to try to fill that gap. And Jordan Love is being thrown straight into the fire. He's not getting the play calling that he needs. Why are we know the Vikings are dropping 8 back into the end zone, and we still try to go for it all. Jordan Love ends up taking off and having to try to run for the first down himself. Why do we not add an option for Jordan Love underneath there? You know the Vikings are going to drop back everybody. They're not going to rush everybody. They're going to drop them all back. They're going to wait for Love to make a throw towards the end zone. Love has to make a decision, takes off, runs for it. He has to try and barrel his way through Harrison Smith for a first down. You're risking your quarterback at that point. Play calling throughout this game was not good. You look when the Packers offense is running right. The run game is going. They're using the tight ends. They're using the short stuff. Matt LaFleur, Jordan Love talked about it. We need to use the deep stuff. Big chunk plays win ball games. No. Short, methodical offense can win you a ball game just as great as a big chunk play can. You know how you open up big chunk plays? You use the short stuff first. You open up the field for yourself. You get the run game going. You get the short passing game going. Then you slip a receiver behind there. Now he's wide open. But on the flip side of that, now Jordan Love has to make the throw. Jordan Love is still inconsistent on his deep balls right now. He's had a couple shots, but he can't make those throws. And that's where my worry is right now with Jordan Love, is the inconsistency of his throwing. He can throw a dime underneath. I mean, we watched him, he was getting sacked, and he ended up throwing it on the sidearm and made a great throw. We've seen him make some great throws through the short game, but we haven't seen him make that deep ball throw yet. That was like, that's the guy. That's the guy that we've been waiting for. We haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, especially I remember one play, he checks the ball up to Christian Watson, double coverage. Like I don't know how you expect to make that throw trying to fit it in there, and the ball ended up getting broken up. Like he's just trying to make some of them throws that you just look at it and it's like come on, like you don't actually think that's going to be complete, and some of them even end up being interceptions on his part. And it's like take the little stuff underneath. That stuff is there. It's not, even if it's like a 3rd and 6. Take the stuff underneath. That's all you need is a first down. You don't need a deep shot. And you look at Minnesota. I remember one drive, KJ Osborne probably got the ball. He had 4 receptions for almost 100 or 80, 4 receptions for 80 yards in one drive. Like a lot of those were underneath stuff that Kirk Cousins just got to him, and he got right up. He went up and just got like 10 yards. I mean, heck, maybe the Packers take a little notes out of the Vikings playbook and do some of that, because it would probably help them, considering the Vikings just put up 24 points.
Yeah, and the defense didn't help the Packers whatsoever. They came up with some big plays at times. But you look at the Vikings, and there's 2 guys on the entire Vikings wide receiving core and tight end group that you have to watch. Addison, TJ Hockenson. We knew those were the 2 weapons. How does TJ Hockenson get wide open in the middle of the field? How does Addison get wide open in the middle of the field? I understand if he breaks a route off, you lose him, okay, once in a while. But these guys are standing middle of the field, wide open, nobody around. How do you lose them? Especially, look at that one Hockenson touchdown. I think Douglas had the coverage on him. How do you lose Hockenson if you're Douglas in that position? I mean, I would hope that you got a little bit more speed than TJ Hockenson got. So at that point, how are you losing their 2 best targets on this team? They aren't going anywhere else. Justin Jefferson's on the sideline. He's not playing. And yet you're still losing their best players on the team. I mean, Jair Alexander had his fits. I mean, he couldn't defend Addison in this one. I kind of thought for a second maybe Jair's still feeling that back a little bit. He's not completely healthy yet, because I've never seen Jair Alexander get manhandled by a receiver. But Addison was complete. I mean, it kind of irritated him, because you saw there after one of the plays early on, he kind of got in his face, Jair did. He was getting a little irritated with Addison himself, everything in between. But this defense, how do you lose those guys in the middle of the field? That's my question. Sideline, I could see it happen every once in a while. Middle of the field, you see them coming as your safeties. Wherever you are in the zone, you have to be watching those 2 guys and keying in on them.
It's all about where your eyes are at. I mean, if your eyes are in the backfield, you're going to lose track of people. if you're watching one specific guy, you're going to lose track of another guy. And you go back to Rasul covering TJ Hawkinson. I'm kind of over this Rasul Douglas guy. I mean, he had his one good year when he got the one interception against the Cardinals when they were super good, and we praised him. Oh, Rasul Douglas. Okay, well, where's that Rasul Douglas now? I mean, so far he hasn't done anything. It seems like I think he might have one pick or something. I don't even know, but it seems like he's just been not the same Rasul Douglas that he came here as, and it's frustrating to watch. Now, I will point out, it seemed like the D line did a little decent. I mean, the Vikings only had 62 rushing yards. We had 74, and considering if you were watching our offensive rushing attack, it did not seem that good. So, considering we beat them in the rushing, I'd say that's a win. The loss is where they have 284 passing yards. That's a major L compared to our 196. So, and we did have the strip sack fumble. Preston Smith did get that, and that was one of the highlights of the game, I'd say. Man, probably one of the only highlights of the game besides the touchdown that we somehow got. But on a fourth down, I don't know. I don't even know how that managed to happen, but yeah.
It was definitely I don't you look at this Packers defense going into this one, their passing defense, their secondary and linebackers have actually been the highlight of the defense. They're ranked like 8th in the league or something like that in defense for passing yards. And the rush game, the run defense was actually terrible. They were sitting at like 30th in the league, averaged them out to like 16. Now you look at this one, flip the script. The run game, the run defense was great. I mean, they played a good game. They controlled the run game when they had to. And the flip side of it, Packers couldn't defend on the backside. So that makes me wonder. I know you gave up on Rasul Douglas. I personally have given up on him for years now. But do the Packers wait? And I mean, okay, this is if Matt LaFleur finally grows a brain and gets rid of Joel Berry. That's another problem, is that we keep vouching for Joel Berry if we are Matt LaFleur. How do you vouch for this? He has been terrible. You give him how many first-round picks on his defense, first and second-round picks on his defense. He still can't figure it out. So do we switch out before we start making drastic changes to the defense? Because you have good pieces on your defense. Do you go out and, well, Joel Berry needs to go first, and then find somebody? Find somebody to bring in here that can run this defense. Whether it's you call Jim Leonard's house, he's not doing anything. I think he's scouting for Illinois or something like that.
I think he's for
Call
Illinois.
Jim Leonard.
So, yeah.
Yeah, call Jim Leonard, see if he wants the job. He's not doing much otherwise. See if you can get somebody else in here who could right the ship on the defense. Because I do think that they have pieces on that defense who could impress underneath the right leadership. Because Douglas, it seems like on that one, lack of focus. And like you said, too many eyes in the wrong places. We're losing guys because we have eyes here, we have eyes here. That comes back to coaching too, with the focus going into this ball game. You know your assignment going into the game as an offensive player, as a defensive player. So that's where I'm heading back to. If Matt LaFleur cannot control this team, find somebody else who can. Find somebody else who can get on their level, who can understand, who they will get behind and really get with. Because we knew Matt LaFleur had his problems when he came to Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers said, I can't hear him in my intercom in my helmet anymore, and he's calling the offense by himself. We knew right then something was fishy. Aaron Rodgers wasn't on a good page with Matt LaFleur. Never was. Did Aaron Rodgers know something that we didn't? He didn't say a word about it. But did Aaron Rodgers find something that was wrong in Matt LaFleur's game? And now we're seeing what it really was.
Yeah. I hope that's not the case. But I mean, if it is, it might be a short term here for Matt LaFleur at Green Bay. And Joe Barry, I wouldn't mind if he just hit the haystack right now either. I mean, this is his first year, I'm pretty sure, as the Packer, or second year, one of the two. But either way, I mean, the Packers
Yeah.
second. But this year, I mean, Packer standards is not going to cut it. I mean, we expected a lot more for him coming in here, and obviously, he's just not getting it done for the Packers. But yeah, maybe Aaron Rodgers was right, as in they're like maybe Aaron Rodgers was in the right spot instead of people always thought, oh, Aaron Rodgers is the bad problem. Oh, it's Aaron Rodgers this, Aaron Rodgers that. Heck, maybe it's Matt LaFleur now we're seeing it finally. And people don't like to talk, or people like to diss Aaron Rodgers. So, I mean, it makes a little bit of sense why they'd say that. But, you know, I mean, if the Packers can't get anything going here, Matt LaFleur might be on his way out.
Definitely some guys need to be on the hot seat right now. And I remember you talked about the run game there. Aaron Jones seemed to be again on a pitch count in this one. He wasn't, when we wanted Aaron Jones out there, he wasn't out there. So if Aaron Jones is still on a pitch count, because he came out this week and he stated that he wasn't feeling as great as he felt going into week one, but he's feeling as close to great as he was week one. So he's healthy. He's back. He's got enough for, I got to look at the stats here to see what Aaron Jones did in this one.
29 yards, 7 carries.
29, 7 carries.
Yeah.
So you had 7 carries in this one. Your most dynamic weapon on your entire offense went for 7 carries. He's not good enough for 15. Not good enough for 20. He didn't seem to be hurt. He was running just fine. He was busting off when he had to. He had a big run early on that got called back for, I think it was holding early on in the first half. So that's my problem right now is we do not know what the heck is going on with Aaron Jones. Somebody needs to come out and tell us, is he on a pitch count or what is going on right now? Because it seems like he is, and if he is, why is he in the ball game right now? If you're risking his health even further by putting him out there for 7 carries, why not put him out there for 15? That's my big question mark with Packers right now is the lack of use of Aaron Jones on this offense.
Yeah, so Aaron Jones, 7 carries, but A.J. Dillon, 6 carries. So where's the other carries coming from? We're missing some carries there. All right, we're missing about 8. If you want Aaron Jones to have 15, we need about 8 more carries. Well, Jordan Love had 4, but one of them was on that third and 16. So we got about half of his yards on just that one run. So Jordan Love was leading the rushing for the Packers with 34 yards. Aaron Jones with 29. A.J. Dillon 6 carries for 11. I mean that ain't gonna cut it. Let me tell you that much. I mean I saw A.J. Dillon get a couple receptions for some decent yardage, but I mean I want him running the ball if anything. And but most importantly, I want Aaron Jones running the ball and having more than just 7 touches. I mean, if you want to have a good offense, you need to be balanced in both rushing and passing. And right now, we're just a heavy passing and almost no rushing. And I mean, if you only have one for defense, if you only have one part of an offense to worry about, you can make that work and you can win that game. If you don't have to worry about offense rushing attack, I mean, you can easily win that game and just lock down their receivers, lock down one of their good receivers, and you'll win that game easily.
No, exactly. And right now, you look like we're talking with the run game. I mean, like you said, all across the board was a struggle. And so if Aaron Jones isn't getting snaps right now, let's move on. Because A.J. Dillon isn't a number 1 running back. He's far from being a number 1. He cannot be your every down back. So you signed veteran James Robinson from, I think he was with the Giants. He's on the practice squad right now. Played for the Jags for a little while. He was a great running back when he was with the Jaguars. Kind of went downhill. Why are we not throwing other guys into the fold right now to try to get something? Emmanuel Wilson, James Robinson, somebody to try and pick up these lack of rushing yards that the Packers have faced week after week. We've never really had a solid run game on this Packers team so far this year. I mean, when Aaron Jones is in, the run game seems to be fine. A.J. Dillon's had a couple of decent runs, but in the grand scheme of things, the run game has been terrible. And you have to be able to fall back on something on this offense when Jordan Love can't do it with his arm. Because, as we've seen, inconsistency is leading to a lot of 3-and-outs for the Packers right now. But that's also setting up because we have 3rd and 8. We have 3rd and 10. We have 3rd and 15. We're not starting with a first down here and we crack off 5 yards. Now it's 2nd and 5. We start out these games with 3rd and 8, 3rd and 15. We're starting out with terrible starting field position for the Packers offense here. Lack of focus, penalties, also from the lack of the run game. Something to get the offense kick-started there. Opening drives, even in the later portions of the first half. We've seen it all season, the struggle in the first half for the Packers. Like you said, lack of complementary football is showing right now for this Green Bay team.
Yeah. So rushing game for one, and then the penalties and getting set back all stimulates from, guess what? The O line. O line is what sets the tone of the game. They control the game in the trenches. And if you're getting set back from those guys because you get a holding penalty on first down, now it's 1st and 20. Now what? You can't even run the ball on first down because what you're going to get? 2 yards because our O line is just not good. I mean, we got Yash Nyman back. No, he plays left tackle or whatever. But I mean, if that's your best guy that you got out there, I mean, I expected Josh Myers to be better. John Runyon, I expected him to be a little bit better. And whoever else we got out there, I don't even know if Alan James is playing because he's probably injured. I mean, Bakhtiar, I mean, if he
I think
played, he
he was back for this one.
was he back for this one?
I'm pretty sure he was back in this one for the Packers. And Zach Tom was back for the Packers too. They're like you were saying, I mean, their offensive line, we expected it to be better. We had setbacks because everybody was injured. So we expected, okay, now when we get healthy, we're going to rock and roll. We're healthy. Besides David Bakhtiari, the offensive line's healthy for this Packers team. So where do you go now? Where do you get the success that the Packers need? How do you instill confidence into Jordan Love moving through the rest of the season? And we're going to crack into that as the week goes on here, preparing for, sadly, not a bye week. We have the Rams coming up here. That another Sunday afternoon, 12 o'clock start. They have consistency. It's not like you can say now that we played Monday night, now we play Thursday night. It's not like we have inconsistency in here with the schedule now. We're going to go noon game, noon game, noon game. We're actually going to have 4 noon games in a row. And technically the Lions game's at 11:30. So you're practically playing at noon 5 weeks in a row here. So that's not an inconsistency. You're not getting short weeks here. You're going to play constantly on Sundays except for that game against the Lions. That's going to be on Thanksgiving. So Packers, we're going to talk about it this week. What do they do moving forward to try and, I don't even know if you could call it righting the ship at this point. I think we have to patch it. I think we're sunk. We're about as low to the bottom. We're like the Titanic sitting at the bottom of the ocean right now. How can we get the Titanic back up? And they haven't figured that one out yet, so I don't know if we're going to figure out the Packers conundrum, but we're sure as heck going to try, and we're going to give her a whirl.
You know, I'm not a huge believer in teams, what's it called, tanking for people, especially like Packers should not tank. Who are they going to tank for? You know, another DB? Well, guess what?
I hope we're not tanking for Caleb Williams.
I freaking hope not. I mean, we're 2-5. Some teams, I mean, Panthers just got their first win, so I guess they're 1-6 or whatever. But it seems like they're going to start tanking here soon for CJ Williams. You know, this whole time we're thinking, oh, the Vikings are 0-4. They start 0-4. Oh, they're going to start tanking for Caleb Williams. Well, guess what? Packers probably should start tanking for Caleb Williams because if Jordan Love doesn't start producing, we're going to probably need him. And he's probably going to go back to college too because it's too cold in Green Bay for him to play here. So,
hey, but
now
he wants ownership in a team that he gets drafted by, and the Packers can offer that. They can.
I mean, we already do that. So
yeah, you can get a portion. We'll give him a letter in the mail that says you're invited to this banquet that might possibly happen, and that'll be that. I mean, we can, but I don't want Caleb Williams. I think he's a headache.
no.
He's going to be like Johnny Manziel. We don't want any of that. If you're going to tank, at least take some, maybe like if Michael Penix decides, I don't even know what year he is in, if he decides to jump into the draft. Otherwise, but yeah, I mean, right now, we're going to be talking about it this week. The Packers, what they have to do to patch the wall here, the dam that broke, it's broken. It's gone. I mean, the dam's gone. The water's flowing. We have to figure out how to patch it here, block by block. And we're going to talk about it this week here. We're going to talk a little bit more about the Badgers this week. We're also going to get into the top 25 schedule tomorrow and cover this past weekend of college sports. Also looking at the NFL scoreboard and seeing what games surprised us on both sides there. And we got the Bucks now, so we're going to be talking a little bit of Bucks. Also, getting into Badger basketball because the Badgers will be tipping off here pretty soon. We got to jump into it, talk about what's going on in the world of Badger sports because right now, Badger football ain't so hot, so we have to pray Badger basketball is the next key here. But with that, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trade. Thank you guys for listening. We will catch you guys tomorrow. Deuces.